In the 1960s, you had a wide range of sports cars to choose from big and little Healeys to Triumph TRs, Jaguars, and the MG Midget. Now, if you wanted something to sit in the middle, more exciting than an MG Midget, but not as brutal as a big Healey, you had these two to choose from.
So today we've got the MGA fixed head and the Lotus Elan S4, two of Britain's greatest lightweight sports cars. And today we are cursed with the task of taking both out and deciding which one we prefer. So without any further ado, let's go out and do just that, shall we?
Oh, yes.
There you go, give us a welly.
I'll get up to cruising speed.
It's not bad noise.
That's good.
Yeah.
So MG had obviously had quite a lot of success with its post-war sports cars, the T-Type Midget and so on.
Yep.
The Americans had loved it. They'd sold over 50,000 of them. But by the late 40s, early 50s, it was a bit of an anachronism. You know, it needed something fresh-faced, particularly for the export market. And MG didn't really have much budget for something new, but they did have an idea, because Sid Enver had come up with a one-off bespoke body for George Phillips' MGTD Le Mans car, and it was gorgeous. All right, it was proper flowing, exotic. It looked like something from Italy, from a Maserati or a Ferrari.
I'll say.
And it did well at Le Mans as well. So a couple of MG engineers could see potential in this for more than just a one-off race car. So they took that body and they put it on an old T-Type prototype chassis and took it to Leonard Lord, of course, boss of MG at the time, and said, look, new car, off the shelf. Now, Lord liked the principle of it, but obviously MG was in cahoots with Donald Healey at the time, and the Healey 100 was in the process of coming out, so he didn't want MG's new car to clash with that. So for the time being, it was put on the back burner. But by kind of the mid-50s, 1954-ish, it was decided, you know what, we can't keep making the T-Type any longer. This is a really ancient car now, so we're going to push on with the first of a new series of MG sports cars, which meant the logically titled MGA came out in 1955.
Sounds pretty sound.
Off the back of that Le Mans body that it was grafted on, can we talk about the looks?
It is absolutely gorgeous.
It's gorgeous.
Flowing. I think the fixed head that we're in today looks a little bit better than the drop head.
I agree. They came out as either. You could have a convertible or the fixed head. And I think our fixed head is the better looking version. I agree.
I think so.
It's flowing, it's elegant, but it's also neat. There's not much superfluous body going on. It's neat and tight. From the rear end, I think it looks a bit XK120-ish.
A little bit. It's like a mini XK120. They're a little bit more rare as well, the fixed heads, which means they're a little bit more valuable too.
I think it's beautiful, and honestly, if you took the badges off this and told someone this was an Alfa or a Maserati, they believe you, genuinely. I think it's absolutely stunning. And as it turns out, being delayed a few years was to its benefit, not its detriment, because it would have been stuck with the old X-Pag engine if it had come out in sort of 51, 52. But by the time the MGA was greenlit for production, the new B-Series engine was out, which was shorter and lower than the X-Pag, and that meant the MGA could have a lower bonnet, so it didn't suffer from Allegro syndrome, but they had to get a really high bonnet line. As a result, it kept that elegant flowing line, so you end up with this almost E-Type-esque kind of double bubble bulging bonnet.
Lower central gravity too, which helps out with your handling.
And the B-Series makes more power than the X-Pag, so we're in a 1600 here, which is a later Mark II version. But if I just change down to third here, give it a bootful, it goes!
Yeah.
It's quick, it's not refined, let's be clear. It's quite a noisy engine, but it's a sports car. You're meant to feel excited by it. You know what? This is not slow. This is great.
And it's a fact that it is happier at higher RPMs as well. These engines do need to be thrashed a little bit to be kept healthy, really, don't they?
They certainly do occasionally. I mean, the B-Series was ultimately be a saloon car engine, particularly in sort of bigger guises. But the great idea is putting a sort of bigger 1600cc, in this case, engine in a body shell that weighs 1,000 kilos or so, possibly less, and it's slippery and aerodynamic, and that is why you get that strong performance.
Yeah, speaking of those 1600s, you've got to remember we also got the lovely sporty twin cam as well.
Oh, we did. Now, the twin cam was another story. We've covered that before, and the performance on that was just epic. The sound was incredible. It was a bit fragile, so sadly it didn't succeed that well long term, but as a collectible car today, the twin cam is phenomenal. So I've managed to find a nice little bit of winding B road here in Norfolk.
So you have, that is my favourite sign.
We can talk about the suspension. Now, the MGA might be sort of fairly built to a budget, but I didn't stop it having good suspension. So it had coil sprung front, it's got a simple sort of leaf sprung live axle at the back, but crucially, rack and pinion steering. None of your vague box nonsense. And that means when you come to hustle it down a B road like this one, I'm not going to push it hard because this isn't my car and it is a mint example, but it's great fun. The brakes, no, solid. You do have to give it a boot for, but they stop well. And you know what? It's great fun to drive this. It handles well. It's so, if I just give a little flick of the wheel, it's so responsive.
And it is crucial to remember that rack and pinion steering is incredibly rare for a car from the 50s, isn't it?
Really is.
And we had cars right all the way through to the 80s that still had steering boxes on them. The E39 M5 still has a recirculating ball steering system, and this is really nice and direct, isn't it?
It just clings on. Look, it's great fun, but it's because it's a bit bigger and heavier and wider than a midget. It's not twitchy. It doesn't sort of kick out, so you can have a bit of fun with it, knowing you've got a bit more safety in reserve. And let's not forget, this wasn't an expensive car either. When it was new, this cost under £1,000. This was not an expensive
incredible,
car.
especially when you consider that Elan was about £500 more.
Well, we'll come on to that. But these exotic looks, that new B-Series engine, and let's be honest, a lovely cabin. It's not the most well-equipped car in the world, but it's nicely appointed. You've got leather seats, you've got a bit of chrome, you've got some nice touches and loads of dials.
Yeah.
You've got opening quarter lights, obviously you can have a convertible.
It is a little bit trickier to get in and out of than that convertible would be.
That's very true. But then you get the Roadster. But if you're nice and trim, you know what? I think it's worth having the fixed head. Genuinely, this is a lovely place to be.
Again, once you do shoehorn yourself in here, it is quite nice, isn't it?
And it's not an XK120 to drive either. You've not got the steering wheel on top of your ears soaring away at your chest. It's an easy, I mean, you and I are both over 6 feet tall. We've got loads of space. We're not touching shoulders, which would be in a midget. It's nice and spacious in here, and that meant combine the performance and the handling and the comfort, and this was a successful racing car as well. It had 2 top 20 finishes in the 1955 Le Mans. It's won 6 Sports Car Club of America national championships. It is a genuinely revered racing car. People still use it for historic hill climbs. You might see these at the Goodwood Revival.
Oh, you absolutely will.
On classic track days and so on, because they're still so good. And being an MG, they've got an enormous club following. You can upgrade them, you can put bigger engines in them, you can even put a Mazda MX-5 gearbox if you want 5 or 6 speeds. Then there's performance upgrades, but whatever you do to it, you're left with a car that looks gorgeous, that's fun to drive, that handles well. It's just a brilliant car. I think this is one of MG's real best efforts. And
I think it probably is.
And if I may, to make the comparison to the Italian Exotica once again, if you built a car like this with a Razzie single overhead cam engine, sharp handling and these looks, and you put a Maserati or an Alfa badge on the nose, this would be a £100,000 car. Yeah. But you can get into one of these for less than 20 grand, even now.
Whoa, really? For a fixed head?
Yeah.
That's impressive.
And the proof of the pudding is it was popular in period. MG sold over 100,000 of these cars, and of that 100,000 or so, they were going primarily for the American market, which obviously loved the T-Type midget. Do you want to know how many were exported?
I'm guessing it's a lot.
95%.
That is a lot.
95% of MGAs were exported. This was an export, just mammoth success.
It's a masterclass, isn't it?
For Britain in general, back when the motto was export or die, the MGA exported and lived well, and of course it paved the way for the MGB, another export success.
Yeah,
this is
impressive.
A tremendous car and a tremendous sports car, and for me, one of my absolute favourite classic sports cars.
Well, it definitely won the 50s, didn't it?
It really did.
However, in the decade that followed, a new challenger appeared.
You seem to think that some plastic bathtub from Norfolk with the engine from a Ford can compete with it. So,
I think it might just.
Let's go and compete, shall we?
Let's.
Just one more corner though.
Go on.
Woohoo! Aha! Oh!
Now that is an entrance.
What an entrance.
What an entrance indeed. Here we are, Lotus Elan S4, produced from 1963 all the way up to 75. And this one is absolutely gorgeous, fully restored by Kim Cairns for, I've just been told, a large amount of money, which makes him a little bit nervous, but still, it is a lovely thing to have, and what a lovely day to have it on.
It's beautiful,
Will not catch me complaining. Not at all.
The commemorative edition, and beautifully done. It's had loads of bodywork that's been resprayed, rebuilt engine and gearbox, every nut, bolt and bush in the suspension changed, new tyres, and would you just listen to it?
Now, this was produced both also in Roadster here and coupe forms. You really want the Roadster though, don't you? Because that wind in your hair is really lovely. Under the bonnet, we've got a lovely little Ford unit here called the Lotus Twin Cam.
It's a twin cam head, of course, so it's quite a humble Ford engine, but throw a bit of Lotus engineering and an extra camshaft into the equation, and
you get
a bit
quite
more
a lovely little fruity piece, don't you? We have double wishbones up front, which means lovely sharp handling there. We have Chapman struts at the rear, a lesser seen suspension format, and this steering is, I want to say, actually a little less direct than the MG is.
Oh, really?
But still, I mean, it wanders a little bit on sensors. I'm sure you can see me seesawing a little bit at the wheel here. But once you're actually in the corners, as I'm sure we'll demonstrate once we get to that lovely little B road we had before, it loads up very nicely and the feel is tremendous at any point. It's also important to say that one certain Gordon Murray said that his only regret of the McLaren F1 production was that he didn't have the quote-unquote perfect steering of the Lotus Elan.
I think perfect is the right word, because the Elan has very quickly got this reputation for being perfect road sports car.
Yes.
It wasn't designed to be a track car. This was designed, unlike the Lotus 7, which obviously that was a purebred race car and track car.
Yes.
The Elan was bred more to give the Lotus experience, but on the road.
Yes,
that's why it's got a little bit more lean to it. That's why it's a little bit softly damped. And actually, compared to the MG, I will say I think it's almost comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the elite that followed this was, you know, the big Le Mans racer, but this was focused much more as a road car. There was also the Plus 2 variant of this that came a little bit after, and that was made actually because Colin Chapman himself wanted something that was a little bit more refined, would you believe it?
God, simplify and add lightness, I thought, was the mantra.
Yes, so did I, but alas, even he could use a little more practicality from time to time.
But it must be said, I mean, bearing in mind this is meant to be a road car, because obviously a Lotus 7 is just a sheet of aluminium, basically,
Yes.
not much else. This is actually a really nicely trimmed cabin. I mean, we've got leather seats, got a nice walnut dashboard. I've got a wood-trimmed Philips radio
Yes.
there. These funny little buttons here, which when I push this, the window goes up and down.
With electricery.
With electricery,
The
not a
future
windy,
is
windy
now,
handle.
old man.
I know, it's incredible. And actually, it's not.
It's a very nice place to be. It's
Yeah.
very well upholstered. These seats, goodness, they are the bucketiest seats I've been in a classic car for a long time, and
Yeah.
it makes it a little bit tricky to get in and out of. They are also fixed, so for taller lads such as ourselves, it can make life a little bit tricky. That second gear, and I'm not going to push it ridiculously, but you can see that once that steering is loaded up, it is lovely.
It's just beautiful, isn't
Oh,
it?
listen to that!
A few pops and crackles. Oh, I will say, though the MG makes a good noise, it
This
can't
is
compete with that.
really something else, isn't it? So we have a standard steel frame bolted to a fiberglass body in 16 places.
Do you know what? I'm amazed how rigid it feels. I mean, it doesn't feel scuttle shaky, it doesn't
No.
rattle, all the trim is still in place, it's not flexing. But also that suspension engineering, I think this is key to it. By engineering a car well, you can make it handle well and handle flatly without having to give it rock hard shocks and springs that are this long. Take note, Mini John Cooper works.
All that adds up to a weight of about 695 kilos, so sub 700 kilos. You can push this with a finger on flat ground. As far as actual drivetrain goes, we have 4 Rotoflex couplings at the rear, which means you have to work on your clutch control a little bit. It gets what's called wind up, where those rubber donuts will flex as load is applied to them. Very cool chimney. And it means that the drivetrain gets loaded up before you actually end up going anywhere, and it leads to a bit of an elastic feeling in your acceleration.
Yeah, these days you can upgrade that, you can put CV shafts on it and so
You
on,
can.
which just makes it more livable. But
Yes.
it's lovely, it's a charming sports car, this.
Yeah. Again, very small. We are both sort of screwed up into balls here. But once you are in it, it is comfortable, even if my knee is butting up against the steering wheel just a tad.
And let's be clear, Captain size 12 feet over here, he is having to drive without shoes.
Yes,
so
that is also important to note. With my shoes on, which are just standard, trainers, so nothing particularly clodhopperish, but my right foot would get stuck underneath the brake pedal when I was on the accelerator. So I thought it's probably for the best for me to remove those.
And I think that is one element you have to hand to the MG. There's no doubt we have more space in the MG.
Oh, absolutely. But again, it's different priorities, isn't it? I mean, that car is suited a lot more to touring. Granted, they're both sports cars, but that is more spacious, it's more comfortable, and on a long journey, I imagine it would be a little more forgiving, let's say.
I would agree with that. There's more space. You've got room behind the seats for storage. You've got a big old boot.
You also have overdrive, which
Yeah.
you don't in this. We have a 4-speed box, and it is so snickety and tight. But again, I'm at 4th gear now, and that's only 40 miles an hour. And you can already hear the revs start to climb. I mean, at 60, it's practically screaming along the poor thing.
And I think the point of this is, this wasn't about making a grand touring car. That's where you'd get the bigger low tie come later, like the XL
Yes.
and the Eclat, and obviously
Yes.
the Esprit. This
Oh,
was
yes.
about a fine B-road driver's car, and the reason it didn't get a fifth gear was because
didn't need one,
You
really.
wouldn't need one, exactly. This wasn't designed to cover great distance at great speed. It was designed to go from point to point with great fun.
Yes.
And there's
That
no
it does.
denying it, does it?
Perfectly. Right, let's let us sing, shall we? That is such a lovely sound.
That sounds incredible. I'll give you this much. It does sound better than the MG.
Oh, it sounds a heck of a lot better than the MG.
The
I mean,
V-Series is a lovely unit, and particularly in an MGB, it does sound lovely, but it doesn't have that twin-cam rasp that the Lotus engine does.
no, it does not. And I'll admit I am hustling a little bit right now, but I'm not, this is not 10 tenths.
No.
This is not even 8 tenths. But still, again, once you're loaded up in that corner, that twitchy feedback is unreal.
It's
the
beautiful.
suspension is nigh on perfect. I really don't understand why these things were so well loved. I mean, they went on for 4 series. It's worth noting that the Sprint was a little bit quicker. That got an extra 10 or 15 horsepower, so to speak. And yeah, it was a bit quicker, but this will still top out at what is, to me, an unfathomable 120 miles an hour. Now, I do not have the stones to pull that off
No,
on any road.
I would
to be
rather
honest.
you didn't.
So would I, to be quite frank.
It's only a little thin fiberglass body around us.
Oh,
But
goodness gracious.
At any speed, this is fun. This makes you smile. We
Yeah.
were going through a village just now at 35,
Yep.
which is within the speed limit, and just smiling like crazy. And I think this is the thing. A fun sports car is fun not just for the driver, but for the passenger.
Yeah.
It's just great. I love this.
Well, I'm glad to hear you're not just holding on for dear life over there.
No, there are some white marks in this seat, but it's brilliant, and I have to commend the Elan. It's just tremendous. You know what? The MX-5 was a great modern imitation, but for me, it's exactly that. It's an imitation. It can't match the charm and the charisma of
No,
this.
it never will. I think that's completely fair of you to say, to be honest. But it does go to show that the formula does work, and it still holds true today.
Absolutely, and you know what? There's a lot of recipes that have been around for decades, and they still make sense.
And this is certainly one of them.
The sports car recipe has, though, and I think that kind of brings us to the awkward conversation we have to have.
Well, awkward for some.
If you want to buy a classic British sports car of the 50s into the 60s, that's a bit more than an MG Midget, but not as full on as a big Healey,
Yes.
what's it going to be? The Elan
Whoa.
or the MG?
It's gonna be the Elan, come on, listen to it. No, I don't fit. No, I wouldn't want to do any great distance in it, but it's a sports car, and I think this is about as pure an example as you could possibly come across.
You make a very compelling argument, and I'm genuinely torn. I don't think I've been more torn in one of our twin tests than this, because I love the MGA to bits. It's gorgeous, and it's a grand touring marvel. It's a great car.
I will
for
give
a
you that,
zero.
it does look better than this does.
It really does, and the engine's great, and it's fantastic fun to drive. But this makes you smile more of the time. And as
Yep.
a sports car, which is what they ultimately are,
Oh, it serves its purpose.
this does better at it. And ultimately, I think this is the one that you'll be more inclined to take the long way home in, because
no.
you could. And not to take away from the MGA, because I adore it and it's beautiful. And for me, it is still possibly it's up there on my favourite British sports cars. But as the British sports car to win this test,
It's gotta be this.
if I didn't say the Elan, I'd be annoyed with myself. So, do you know what? I will concede. There you go. I won't shake your hand because you're driving, but there you go. The
on that
winner
note,
is the Lotus Elan.
And on that note, don't forget to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, leave a comment, which one would you have? And hopefully, I will be seeing you very soon indeed.
Yes!
Pop, 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 pop. I could do that all day.
I'll grab that.